everybody, this is David Jelks and welcome to Factor 3 Fitness. Thought I'd take a couple moments just to kind of give you a kind of rundown of what Factor 3 Fitness is and how it's going to benefit you over the next 90 days. Over the course of the 21 years being involved in the fitness industry, we've really looked at what works and what doesn't work, and we've rendered it down to a few basic components. And what we've come to understand is that out of an entire week, there's 168 hours that we're alive, right? So that's 168 hours every single week, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Out of that 168 hours, how many hours do we train? And quite often what we find is that people may train 3 or 4 days a week, maybe 5 days a week, training for an hour and a half, maybe at the very most. But at the end of the day, when we do the math, that really makes up for only like 1% of our time is really being spent being active. So if we're only investing 1% of our time being active, wouldn't it make sense to be exceptionally focused and precise in that behavior? Otherwise, that 1% doesn't go very far. And if we look around us kind of worldwide, in any country, we'll find that, it doesn't go very far, unfortunately. So Factor 3 is actually works with something called work per unit of time. So we have a certain amount of time in which that we've allocated for fitness. So we're going to go to the gym for an hour a day or 45 minutes a day, or we're going to train in our basement, whatever the case may be. So we only have a certain amount of time to train in. So we're going to maximize every second of your training time to make sure you get the most out of it. And I'll give you a quick example. Traditional training programs, let's say for example, if I go to the gym, I do 5 exercises and I do 5 sets of each. That's 25 sets. How long does it take to do one set of exercise? It takes about 15 seconds to do one set of like 10 to 12 repetitions. Well, if it's only taking about 15 seconds to do one set, if I go 25 sets at 15 seconds per set, I'm kind of coming in under just under 7 minutes of actual labor. So if I'm at the gym for an entire hour, I'm only actually working 7 minutes. That's such a small time. And if I'm training 4 days a week, this is my kind of math, 28 minutes out of 168 hours that you're alive. What is that going to do? Unfortunately, not much of anything. Actually, what it will do is create a lot of frustration. And still within that 5 exercises, 5 sets, what we end up getting is a transit time. How long does it take to go from exercise A to exercise B? Generally about 2 minutes if you're not that chatty. A lot longer if you are. So your transit time, from the time it takes to go from one machine to the next, from one exercise to the next, can often take up 10-15 minutes of your entire hour just in transition. So we worked out 7 minutes, right? And we're in transition about 15 minutes. Typical exercise programs say if you do one set of exercises, how long should you rest? About 45 seconds to a minute. If I got 25 sets per session, I'm resting up to 25 minutes, if not longer. So 25 minutes of rest, if not more, 10 to 15 minutes of transition, 7 minutes of actual work. What in the world is that going to do for you? Absolutely nothing. Create a lot of frustration. So Factor 3 is actually, we takes that into consideration, and we create these microcircuits so that you're under load for 5 to 6 minutes at a time consistently, and that's one block. So look at your training blocks. We're going to maximize muscle endurance, muscle strength and integrity. We're going to challenge you metabolically, and more importantly, we're going to challenge your form as you go through. So you're going to record your time, and you're going to record the amount of volume, the reps times the sets times the weight. And at the end of that, we're going to see that while you did this much work, right, the reps times the sets times the weight is your training volume in this amount of time. So for example, I was training the other day and I moved 49,000 pounds roughly in about 45 minutes, and it actually worked out to be about 1,223 pounds per minute I was moving for the time I was there. That's efficient. That's Factor 3.